Hello, everyone, from Sport Beach in Cannes, day one of Cannes. I'm here with Josh Stinchcomb, the CRO, Chief Revenue Officer of the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Beautiful day.
So what do you think of Cannes so far?
So far, so good. And this is an amazing setup you guys have.
Yeah, it's always good to bring sports and marketing and communicators together. Journal's a big friend of Stagwell's. We've been working on an important subject called the Brand Safety Project. And the whole notion is that talking about the business side of journalism shouldn't be a dirty word. And there's a notion out there that brand safety, that advertisers should be wary of advertising where there's controversy editorial. We did a study to disprove that. Where do you see brand safety today from an advertising standpoint?
Yeah, so there has been a lot of research, and the Stagwell research that we participated in is the latest and maybe the most comprehensive that we've seen that shows that there really isn't any danger for brands advertising in news environments or quality news environments, even against what can be hard to read news, meaning war or tough economic news, and so I think it's really important that brands listen to what consumers are telling them, which is this is important information that consumers need and want to read, and they want to see it supported by advertising. We see the concern manifested mainly in the form of really extensive block lists applied by advertisers. And I think the cost of that to the brands is that when they give us long block lists, it makes it very hard to serve their advertising and optimize their advertising in our environments. And that hurts performance. And again, the research is saying it's not necessary, and I think the ROI suffers as a result.
And when you're hearing the confusion, when you're seeing the confusion, is it on the chief marketing officer side? Is it on the agency side? What are you hearing as a business model, as a media outlet that does advertising? What do you hear on the ground?
Yeah, it's so interesting because when you have conversations, you hear the right thing, but the actions don't necessarily tie to the words. Certainly when I have conversations with CMOs, they say they support running advertising in quality news environments, and I hear the same from senior leadership at agencies, and yet the block lists persist. And so it's hard to pinpoint sort of where the issue is. And in some cases, I think it's just sort of the inertia of block lists that have been around for a long time and don't get updated. So, part of it is just continuing to shine a light on the issue, shine a light on the great research, like the research from Stagwell, and get people to realize this is an active process. You've got to update block lists. You've got to pay attention to what's going on, because you're missing opportunities if you don't. And I think this is a big conversation this year at Cannes. I think this research is going to help, and if people sort of lean in, start to realize that opportunities are being missed, we're going to see some change.
And we were talking earlier, where do you see advertising today? Where's the growth? Where is the continued opportunity, and where do you see things headed?
Yeah, well, at the Journal, we are seeing advertising growth, which is great, across a lot of different sectors. The luxury sector has been quite strong for a number of years.
And you define luxury in a pretty broad way.
A broad way, yeah. I mean, for us, it's pretty much anything that's not B2B. So it's consumer advertising from pure luxury, fashion, watch, jewelry, all to auto, to travel, private jets, cruises, etc. Anything in the consumer space for sort of a high-end audience is luxury for us. We're primarily, though, a B2B advertising environment. Enterprise technology has come back in the last 6 months. That was a category that post-COVID saw some retraction. Financial services is a big category for us. Historically a big spender in print. We're just beginning to see that category embrace digital platforms in a bigger way. There are challenges in advertising, certainly, but we're seeing some real pockets of growth. We have a great partnership with LinkedIn in video that's doing quite well. branded content and content marketing is very strong in the B2B space. That continues to be a bright spot. So podcast advertising is a bright spot, especially in B2B.
As well.
And events is a big business for us. So a lot to be excited about.
I started my career as a journalist, and I've talked to people from time to time where they don't want to talk about the business of journalism, this is a business model. Yeah. What do you see inside the Wall Street Journal and Dow Jones, and do you still see this hesitancy to talk about the business side? And I think business shouldn't be a dirty word. It is a business, and it needs to be a viable business to support journalism, which supports democracy. But how do you see it?
Yeah, well, we have maybe the benefit of being a journalistic enterprise about business. So I think even our newsroom maybe understands the fact that we're a business better than some other newsrooms. So that tension is maybe not as acute at the Wall Street Journal as elsewhere. There's obviously a very clear line between church and state, but at the same time, this is a very sort of business cognizant newsroom, to say the least. Also, the Journal sits inside of Dow Jones, which is a diversified business. In many ways, we've got business news, which is the Wall Street Journal. We also have an energy vertical where we sell energy data and analysis. We have a similar business in the chemical space. We have a risk and compliance business. We have a research business with Factiva. So we are a diversified business news, data, analytics company. And I think that sort of diversification and that sort of broad set of verticals, gives us a lot of different ways to work with companies in a way that like a pure media company or journalistic enterprise doesn't necessarily have. Yeah.
When we did this research on brand safety and we looked at the demographics, there are 25% of Americans today are sports junkies, 25% entertainment junkies, 25% doing some other things, but 25% consider themselves news junkies. From an advertising and a marketing standpoint, that's a pretty prime audience.
Yeah.
How do you talk about that? And is there enough awareness out there that there are 1 out of 4 Americans are hungry to consume the news?
Yeah, no, well, look, I think the news junkies tend to be more affluent, better educated, further along in their career. So it's a highly desirable audience, especially for B2B advertisers. And so I think brands avoid them at their peril, especially B2B advertisers. And you have to remember, for a lot of people, this is a passion, news. I think about it in the luxury space. I talk a lot to some of the luxury brands, who think a lot about, advertising in sort of passion environments. We want to be, where people are engaging in their passion, whether that's travel or culinary. Well, for a lot of people, that's information and news. This is a passion, or investing. This is a passion environment for a lot of people. And so I think the idea that this is, a scary place or something to be avoided is missing a really important cohort. Not just 25%, but maybe the most important 25%.
I know we're almost at time, so we'll just focus on one last topic, and that's kind of the topic that's been dominating all the headlines, AI. And maybe talk about AI as you see it from a Dow Jones and a Wall Street Journal perspective, but particularly from an advertising and a marketing perspective. What's the opportunity? What's the risk you see? And I think the question of the year is, should we be fearing AI?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot in there. So a couple of things. First, it's creating some immediate opportunity just in advertising. There's a lot of new AI companies that are advertising. You've got a lot of professional services companies advertising, touting their AI capabilities. So there's a bit of an ad boom coming from AI. There are also some pretty clear short-term opportunities to use AI to optimize and automate some of the processes in the advertising side of the business. Digital plan, digital plan creation, et cetera, and we're beginning to experiment with some of those. It was also announced just a couple of weeks back that News Corp did a big deal with OpenAI. So there are deals to be done that have benefits for them and for us in that instance. At the same time, the application of AI in search, for example, will have implications in terms of traffic being driven to publishers. We're beginning to see the impacts of that. So that's something that we're going to have to, respond to and react to and think about, where our traffic is going to come from. That's going to result in us leaning into some of our own platforms, like our app. And realize we can't be reliant on third parties like Google as much as we were for traffic. And so, it's a reality that we'll have to deal with, but there are pros and cons. So far, we're more excited about the pros than we are worried about the cons.
With every new technology, it's been about human plus machine makes society better.
Exactly.
So not one to be feared. Absolutely, absolutely. Josh Stinchcomb, Wall Street Journal. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having
Great to have you here.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.